Well, g'day curd nerds. G'day curd nerds. Well, 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 g'day curd nerds, and welcome to another live stream. This is Ask the Cheeseman, episode 171. Whew. Great to see so many of you on the chat today. I do realise that daylight savings has kicked in some places around the world. We're still here in Victoria anyway. We still have daylight savings. I don't think we change until the first weekend in April. So it's probably a pretty good time for most people. I was just checking the map of the world, which I'll bring up in a sec. Let's have a look. So if we have a quick look at that, you can see that, most people are awake, except for, say, India and maybe China. And some of the Middle East. But the rest of the world looks pretty good, and we've got a great audience. So fantastic. Oh, wasn't even looking at the right thing. There we go. Oh, goodness me. If I engage my brain this morning, I haven't had my coffee. Hang on. Better have a sip. There we go. So most people around the world, like I said, it's a decent time for everybody. And we've got our first super chat today. And that's from Jim Jackson. Thank you, Jim. I'll just get rid of this second screen so we can see what we're doing. Fantastic. Thanks, mate. And Jim says, g'day, King Gavin and Queen Kim. I trust this week finds you both well and happy. Stay safe and healthy. Enjoy your channel and getting me hooked on cheese. Thank you, Jim. I really appreciate it. Where are you? Wrong camera. That camera. Thanks, mate. Appreciate it. Anyway, a little bit of housekeeping before we start. I feel like I'm a little bit all over the place today. I don't know why that is. So, a big shout out to Megan Ward, who's a new YouTube member. Thank you, Megan. And new patrons this week, Doug Robinson. Thank you, Doug. And a user by the name of Cheese History. Very nice indeed. Thank you, Cheese History. And thank you to all of the ongoing YouTube members and patrons of the show. Without your support, we couldn't keep the live stream and all the videos flowing. But thank you so much. Appreciate it. Now, I do have a special treat today. And straight after this live stream, at 9 o'clock my time, there will be the Colby cheese making video tutorial as a premiere. And what will happen, fingers crossed, I hope, is that you will be whisked away from this live chat and transferred straight over to the premiere for Colby. If you want to hang around, YouTube should automatically do it. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Anyway, for those on Facebook, you'll have to go over to the YouTube channel to check that out. Now, for those new to the channel, I'm Gavin Webber. I'm the chief curd nerd around here, and hopefully I'll be answering your home cheese making questions. Okay, right. So let's say good day to a few people. There's lots of people in the chat. The first person on the chat this morning, and you can't really see it here, was first person was Rodney. Hello, Rodney. Hopefully you're still around. And Ruth. G'day, Ruth. Lovely to see you. First person on the chat after it went live was Paul. G'day, Paul. Scotsman Productions got a question. Great. You can ask at any time now. Bruce. G'day, Bruce. Sticky. G'day, Sticky. Donato. G'day, Donato. G'day, Nicola. Judy. G'day, Judy. And Kim. We've got Kim who's moderating today. We've got Karen. G'day, Karen. Marcel from Cape Town in South Africa, Doug, and we got Dominique, Tuna Shogun. Oh, crazy names. Alistair, we've got Dosey, or Doc. Ambrose, g'day Ambrose, all the way from Wales. Lovely to see you. Daniel, g'day Daniel. Diego and Lindsay, David, Jaden, Stephen. My goodness, we've got heaps of people. Wendy, Pam, Charlotte, and Frank is all I've got so far. Dinsdale, I think is there. All right, so let's get on with some of the questions. Oh, another bit of housekeeping. Sorry, I forgot. The gallery will be at 8:30. We've got tons of cheese making photos. And just a bit of an update to let you know, the bland, which is the fermented whey drink that I'm making, is still fermenting, albeit very slowly now. So it's kind of slowed down. The temperature in the house is still okay as far as fermenting goes, but it's brewing a lot slower. And I think that's a good thing because I remember when I made the mead a while ago, which is the honey wine, it rapidly fermented for the first week and a half or 2 weeks, and then it slowly fermented for about a month, and then it stopped. So hopefully, fingers crossed, that'll go the same way for the bland. It has changed color, but I'm going to do a subsequent follow-up video very soon just on what's happened so far, so people, if they're making it at home, they can check it all out. Okay. Let's find the first question. Okay, so the first question's from Donato. It says, why does my cheese all taste the same? Sorry, hang on. Oh, good question, though. Oh. Could be that you're using the same starter culture, and that'll impart the same sort of flavor. Could be that you're making the same cheese. They shouldn't all taste the same, but yeah, you should have, if you're using the same, say, Mesophilic culture over and over and over, then yeah, you're going to get a similar flavor. That's why a lot of cheesemakers use different types of starter cultures to make their cheeses. I hope that helps. Karen has a statement. Says, good afternoon from Washington State. Loved the Colby video. And Karen is a YouTube member, so she got to see it early yesterday. So, yep. So everybody else, they'll see the premiere of the Colby video at 9 a.m. this morning, directly after the live stream, which should send you there. Okay. Another super chat. We'll grab that in a sec. Thank you. So Donato said, I'm a Caciocavallo, Cheddar, Jarlsberg, taste mostly the same. I don't know how those cheeses would taste the same, honestly. They all taste different when I make them, that's for sure. But yeah, maybe starter cultures. Okay. So the super chat, and I don't know what's going on. Hang on. It's from Ruth. Hang on, let me have a look. Show it. There we go. Ruth says, and thank you so much for your kind $20 US super chat there, Ruth. Requesting any advice for healing from tragic neglect. Thank you. And congratulations to Kim for finishing your treatment. Maybe you will appear on screen for number 200. Well, here's hoping, Ruth. Any advice for healing from tragic neglect of your cheese? Well, I suppose my advice is if it's moldy, then you're going to have to scrape it off and do the best you can. If it's totally wrecked, then you can always reprocess it. Remember the American cheese process we did with the sodium, what's it called? Oh, I can't remember my own stuff. Sodium carbonate. That's it. Yeah, you'll be able to make up some of that, and oh no, sodium citrate, wrong chemical, and you'll be able to make some American cheese with whatever disaster you've got. But thank you so much for Kim. She'll probably leave a comment in a second, Ruth. We've got another super chat here. His one is from kill a light before anybody has a seizure. Is from, I can't read the name. Toys Are for Boys. Thank you very much. Thanks for all your info on camera mic setup. I set it all up for a customer and she loves it. No problems at all. Happy to help. Okay. Back to some other questions. Let's have a look. I'm sure I've got some now. Oh, there are. There's lots. So many questions. Okay. Alistair says, I can't stop making cheese. This is becoming a problem. Yeah, I hear you, mate. Yeah, I'm a bit the same. Kim says that the clocks change in Europe on the 28th of March. Oh, okay. I think some places went earlier, though. I'm pretty sure some of the clocks changed in the US, maybe, for daylight savings. Let's have a look. Lindsay says, g'day, Gavin and Kim. I have a Wensleydale air drying today, waxing tomorrow. Yep, nice. Well done, Lindsay. And just a tip there, make sure it is touch dry. It should feel like a clammy handshake. It shouldn't dry out too much. If it does dry out too much, it tends to crack. Certainly found that from experience. Another question from David. This one's, hey, mate. G'day, mate. I've got a question. Can you make a proper Stilton? Indeed, I have. And Kim, if you can pop the link up for David for Stilton, and then that'll be good. Anyway, what's my least favorite cheese from Jaden? Anything processed. Don't like processed cheese. It's not technically cheese, even though I think the rules are it's got to be over 50% cheese content or something. I just don't like it. I like the natural way. Anyway, there's a question or a statement from Stephen, and I've seen some of Stephen's work, and he runs a cheese factory. So he said, actually, I'm listening and watching you in Vereda El Portento in Colombia at 4:10 p.m. in the afternoon. That's great. Just before another thunderstorm arrives. Thanks, Stephen. And you got some great work there, mate. I have checked it out. Let's have a look. Yes, Holly's in the background there. I don't know. You can see her. She's down here somewhere. Don't know what she's doing. Holly, what are you doing? Oh, she's eating her bonio for the morning. All right. Question from Frank says, what do you think about putting dried fruit in cheese? I think a lot about it, actually. It is a good thing. I have done it a few times. Kim, can you pop up the video for Wensleydale and cranberries, or Wensleydale and something in it? It was very, very nice. It was a Christmas kind of cheese, and you can see the process there. Okay. There's a question from Ryan, and Ryan says, I made some Budakaiser and it won't dry. It will dry on top, and then when I flip it, it is wet on the bottom every time. It has been 7 days. I made Gouda before and after and had no problems. Yeah, Budakaiser is one of those cheeses that are very moist. It's just the way the cheese is supposed to be. If it doesn't dry out, then what you could do, depends on what you're using. If you're using a plastic mat, they don't tend to. I find that sometimes when I use a bamboo mat for those troublesome sort of cheeses, then we don't have too many problems at all, because the bamboo mat actually absorbs some of the whey and helps the cheese dry out a lot better. Now, hopefully the temperature's okay. Should be around 21, between 18 and 21 for air drying. It seems to go okay. Any lower, it dries a lot slower. So there's some suggestions for you. Or next time, press the cheese a little bit harder, get some more of the whey out. And you shouldn't have too much problems. Stein has a question. I have another bland question. If I add lactase to the whey, would it break down the lactose in sugar and thus alcohol? I'm just not getting great results with it and do not have a reference. I have read if you go to the bland video, there's a blog post that I put in the description, Stein, and it describes about the history of bland and all that sort of stuff. And it's actually got some tips on making it too. They do actually mention putting in lactase in some versions. I know there's a commercial product bland in Scotland that they do actually add lactase to it to ferment the other sugars as well. And when you add lactase, it splits the lactose into its two simpler sugars, which is galactose and glucose. And the glucose can definitely be eaten by yeast. I know that for a fact from my beer brewing days. So yeah, try that. You'll get a higher alcohol content and a less sweeter brew. That's for sure. Because from brewing experience, I remember years ago making a thing called a milk stout, and what they do, it's a sweeter sort of stout, which is a really dark beer, and I actually had to put lactose powder into it, which is a non-fermentable sugar, to bring the sweetness of the beer up, because the brewing yeast just doesn't eat the lactose and converts it into CO2 and alcohol. Anyway, great question. Thanks, Stein. Hope that helped, mate. Okay. Here's a question from Sticky. Says, have you ever had a cheese that you couldn't eat due to the taste? Yeah, the Morbier that I made comes to mind. And I filmed the taste test in the new studio before all the walls were put up. So it was quite funny. It hadn't been salted long enough, and there was way too much bitterness for my liking. I didn't like it. But a real Morbier, I've tasted that, and they taste amazing. But yeah, I hadn't salted enough, and it was too bitter. So there's a trick for young players. Salt your cheese properly. Question from Daniel says, hi, Gavin. Do you have any experience with kefir and using it to make cheese? Any tips on keeping it healthy? No, unfortunately I don't, but there's a very good book by David Asher. Let me just see if I've got it. Hang on. In the bookshelf. Rightio. Very good book by David Asher called The Art of Natural Cheese Making. What's the little subtitle? It says, using traditional, non-industrial methods and raw ingredients to make the world's best cheese. And he exclusively uses kefir grains as his starter culture. So get that book, The Art of Natural Cheese Making. I don't get a kickback or anything from it, but it's a great little book. I'm pretty sure if you go in the description down below, there's a link to my Amazon shop. And you should be able to purchase it there, and I get a small commission. Hopefully that answers your question. There's a lot of information in that book, and it's really good. I haven't got into that kind of cheese making yet, but yeah, eventually I think I probably will. Neil says, made Cotswold, let it drain in the colander for 5 minutes, then into the mold. It didn't stick together well. I think I drained too much fat. Should I toss the cheese? I think you mean during pressing, maybe. Most cheeses will stick together if you press them hard enough. Remember that when you're doing pressing, you should incrementally increase the pressure as you go along. I find a light pressing for 30 minutes, a little bit firmer for an hour, maybe a third pressing for half the total pressure, and then for about 3 or 4 hours, and then most of the time it'll be 12 hours or overnight at the highest pressure I've got, depending on the cheese. If it's a semi-hard cheese, then yeah, most of the time I press it as hard as I possibly can. Sounds like you may have stirred too much if it didn't stick together on that initial pressing. Rarely do I have some cheeses fall apart, but you will see in the Colby video coming up, it actually, one of my cheeses, only due to a mistake I made, kind of fell apart, but I recovered it and it worked well. So, Jason says, my question is around waxed cheese. I made a Colby cheese and decided to wax it instead of vacuum packed. How often should I rotate the cheese? I have been doing it daily so far. Should I switch to weekly? Yeah, nobody's got time to daily turn the cheese. Yeah, turn it weekly. Yeah, whenever I wax and vac pack, Fridays is the day I go to the cheese cave and I just turn all the cheeses over. Just promotes even ripening, so all the fat doesn't sink to the bottom or float to the top, whichever one it is. And it's even ripening through the cheese, so you just turn it over. Once a week's fine. Don't need to get too excited about that. Okay. A question from Rodney. It says, why is it tough when making small batches to make cheese to get ricotta from the whey? Well, it depends on the type of cheese. If it's an acid set cheese and the whey's really clear, you won't get any ricotta. You might get a thimbleful. If you've got a really cloudy whey, which some cheeses like, what's a good example? Well, for instance, like the Colby that I made, quite a cloudy whey. I found that what I could have done before I made the blend was add a little bit of acid to it and got some ricotta. Obviously, the more whey you've got, the more ricotta you get. The cloudier the whey, the more ricotta you get. That's just the way it is. Anyway, question from Manel says something to the mozzarella recipe with the culture. Is it taste like gum when the mozzarella is cold? No, it didn't. I remember that when I made my traditional style mozzarella with cow's milk, so it's not really traditional, it's made with buffalo's milk. It was firm, but it didn't taste rubbery. It had a really nice flavor, so it was quite good. Okay. Marcel says that he's making my crescenza recipe this week. It is currently hanging out in my fridge. Technically, it's your crescenza, mate. I just made the recipe. But yeah, I hope that turns out well. Let's have a look. There's a question from Manel. Says, I read information about the homogenized milk when we use it to make cheese. Can add some heavy cream alternative with some milk. Is this information right? Funny you should say that. I saw a cheese video the other day when somebody, it was Shera actually, from Learn to Make Cheese. She's got her own YouTube channel now. I think she's putting up a few videos. And what she did, she used skim milk, zero fat, right? So it was like white water, basically. So she used skim milk and she used cream and added the cream to the skim milk and then created a non-homogenized or unhomogenized milk. So, yeah, you can definitely do that. And she said she had some great results with the cheese making. So you could try that out, Manel. That will work if you can't get your hands on unhomogenized milk. Doug says, for Queso Fresco, what do you think about adding Lipays in addition to the Mesophilic culture? Really, Doug, it won't have time to do the lipolysis that it normally does, the breakdown of the fats, because Queso Fresco is such a quick and easy and, pardon me, fresh cheese. You won't notice any difference at all, I don't think. Maybe after even a few weeks of aging, it won't work because it's a really moist cheese and it won't age very well. It'll go bitter pretty quickly. Anyway, thanks for your question, mate. All right. This one's from Molly. Molly says, I made Parmesan. It's in the brine. I salted the top, but it isn't under the brine. What shall I do? You've done exactly what you're supposed to do. So if there is because it'll float in the brine, of course. If you don't have a little plate and a lid like my one that I made myself, you can't buy it. And it floats proud. If I'm making a really big cheese, I can't use that container anyway. And if it floats and there's a little bit above the water or the brine, then you've done right. So just sprinkle a layer of salt over the top, and that'll help with salt coverage in the cheese. When you flip it over at the halfway mark, do the same thing. Sprinkle some salt on top. So that'll be cool. David says, Stilton is my favorite cheese. How can you make it? Oh, Kim's already put the link up, David. Please stop asking. It's there. All right. A question from Michelle. What is the difference in using a closed bottom cheese form and one without the bottom? Okay, good question. When you're using what's known as a hoop, which is a basket without a bottom, you can see straight through the tube. They're used mainly for gravity drained cheeses, so you don't press them, because if you did try to press them, the hoop will ride up. There's nothing to stop the spring from making the cheese go up, or the hoop go up. With a bottom basket, they're mainly used for pressing cheeses because the cheese won't fall out the bottom of the basket when you press it. So gravity, so blue cheeses have hoops mainly. You'll also see some other cheeses like some of the really big Alpine cheeses. They're just pressed with a board on top and a weight on top. So not a really big amount of pressure, so they won't ride up on the sides. And they're wrapped in cheesecloth anyway. But yeah, any cheeses like blue cheeses, white mold cheeses, you'll find they have hoops. So hopefully that answers your question. Let's have a look. And that was the question. Did it come up? Yeah, it did come up. Right, cool. Kim says, I promise I will make an appearance sometime this year. Unfortunately, she's having problems with really bad rashes on her face at the moment. Indeed, she is, and she's just managed to get in to see a dermatologist, and we've got some progress, which is really good. There's a question from Reversi. Any thoughts on Gouda? Gouda's a great cheese. Kim, can you put the video link up for the Gouda with the louder mold? And that'll help out there. All right. I can't even pronounce that. What's that? Mr. Telegram. We'll call him Mr. Telegram. Mr. Telegram says, what's the best way to get started cheese making? Just start. There are usually courses in most areas, just a little short course, a day course on how to make cheese. They're always great. I started off going on a course, but then from there on, I bought as many cheese making books as I possibly could, which you can see over there. There are many cheese books, and you can't see, it's behind my chair, but yeah, there's lots of them, and just read and researched. And one of the reasons I made the YouTube channel was because I couldn't find any videos, and I'm kind of like a visual learner. There weren't any videos on how to make cheese. So I thought, what the heck? Start to do it. See if anybody watches them. And apparently they do, which is a good thing. But yeah, Kim can you put out that link, Kim, beginners cheeses for people that don't have a cheese cave, and that'll help out Mr. Telegram. Okay, Donna says, when making cheese and using sliced truffle packed in oil, any prep needed to be safe? I don't know, Donna. I haven't tried it yet. Good news is a truffle farmer actually reached out to me yesterday and asked if I wanted to use some truffles when they're in season. In July and August is when truffle season is here in the Southern Hemisphere. And he wants to supply some truffles so I can make a truffle cheese. So I will soon find out whether I get fresh or in oil. I don't know. I would pat them off. If you're using truffle packed in oil, I would pat them off with paper towel to get rid of as much oil as you possibly can, and slice it even finer to put it in your cheese. The presence of oil in cheese, the oil could go rancid during the aging process. That's my initial thoughts. I haven't tried it yet, Donna. A lot of people telling us about daylight savings time changing, which is fantastic. Thank you so much. Question or a statement from the Elderidge. That's time for the gallery. We'll do that in a second. But it says, greetings from Middle Tennessee. The best cheese that I make is goat's milk's feta, following your recipe that you have on YouTube. Thanks very much, mate. Appreciate it. All righty, let's bring up the gallery. Where did I put the gallery? Is a good question. Here we go. All right, so let's share that. Okay, have I got the very last video? No, what's going on here, gallery? Hang on, 2 seconds, technical problem, as always. Oh. All right, I'll start from the start. That helps, doesn't it? Right, here we go. Here we go. We've got a bit of gallery going on. Okay, so turn it on and it works. All right, so this one is from a guy, I think it's a guy called Cyprian, and made a lovely blue cheese there. I think it's a buttermilk blue. It looks amazing. There's lots of photos from Cyprian. This one's a Kafili, which looks amazing as well. The paste looks exactly like I remember when I made it. Now, notice up here, I don't know if you can see that. You can see there's some brown spots. Now, Kafili typically does get some mold growth, and because of its high salt content, it tends to get a bit of a browning. That's why sometimes you got to wash it with a bit of whey, not whey, with some a simple brine solution, and that'll get rid of any mold buildup. So yeah, that really helps. This one's also from Cyprian. It's a drunken dry ginger, cherries, papaya, Wensleydale. So it's got a bit of everything there. Apparently it tastes fantastic. So the outside has been soaked in wine. You can see a couple of millimeters into the rind that the wine has soaked in, but lots of fruit there. Yeah, the structure of the cheese looks great as well. So well done. This one is also from Cyprian. This is a Habanero sage cheddar. So I was struggling initially to find the sage, but you can see some of the green bits in there. More habanero than sage, I think, but it looks fantastic. And as a cheddar, the structure looks nice and tight. You can see there's some mechanical holes there, but I think it's more from when it was cut, and some of the habaneros were dragged through the cheese when it was cut. But yeah, very good looking cheese. This one's a Parmesan, also by Cyprian. And you can see nice, tight, dry rind. In the middle, there is certainly, it looks fairly grainy. I think there's a close-up. There we go. There's a close-up. So grainy texture. I don't see any crystals or anything like that, but it doesn't really matter because it's grainy. Looks like a fantastic grating cheese. So well done. I think this might be the last one from Cyprian, but this is a provolone. And it looks really good. This is an aged pasta filata cheese, basically. And yeah, there is a recipe on the channel as well, but a great looking provolone. I bet it tasted fantastic. I know mine did. Oh no, this is the last one. This is the last one from Cyprian. This is a Romanian, how do you say that? Tellagio, I think it says. It's got no starter cultures, just rennet pressed and 18% salt brined. So yeah, nice looking white cheese there. Be very fresh. Okay, on to another submission. This one's kind of like two pictures in one, so don't know how to make this any bigger. Can we do that? Yeah, all right. So we'll go from there. This is from Dan Bryce. Thank you, Dan, for sending this in. This is a bloomy goat. Probably not with the blue. You don't mention anything about blue. But there's the final result. It looks fantastic. Nice lactic set cheese. A lovely layer of ash, and you can see the white bloom on the outside. From experience, my cheese, when I made this recipe, the cheese tasted fantastic. So Well done. Another one from Dan. This is a Gouda, and he's made it into a ball shape. I can think, yeah, it's in a ball shape, which is more like Edam. I think Edam's more in a ball shape or a cannonball, but it looks like a great looking Gouda. And yeah, a little bit of eye development, but looks very nice nonetheless. Nothing bad about eye development, because most of my Goudas do the same thing. Okay, moving right along. This one's from Stein. Now, Stein didn't actually tell me what type of cheese it is, so I guessed, because he's from Holland, the Netherlands, it's a Gouda. Maybe he can correct me in the he can correct me in the thing in the chat. I know he's there somewhere. But yeah, it's good looking. He's using yellow wax or natural rind. Now, this is Stein's Cheese Cave. I think it's a top-down view. It could be like under the stairs, like Harry Potter's house. But and we've got a bit of a spiel. I'll say something about Stein. He's sent me a nice note, so we'll talk about that. So he's got all his cheeses up on pine boards on shelving. Looks fantastic. He's got a little bit of could be a fridge there. He's doing some natural rinds as well. Looks like he's got some preserves there, and he's got milk buckets because he's got some goats. So that is a magic cheese cave, honestly. I think it could be like his boiler room or something like that. A bit of pipe work going on there. But yeah, absolutely fantastic. Now, let me just read something out. Hopefully it comes up on the screen as well. It's not going to be very big. I'll read it out anyway. It says, "Hey, Gavin, I want to thank you for your inspiration all these years. I made my first cheese with one of your videos. I think this could be 9 or 10 years ago. I saw your video and next morning hand milked one of my ewes to make cheese and yogurt. I guess I have to thank you for a whole new journey starting there and then. I have had lots of goat and sheep, 900 or 1,000 animals. It is a big flock in the Netherlands. We use the flock for ecological grazing and meat production mainly. It is hard work and not a lot of money, but living the dream of many. Now we are working hard building a dairy flock. Milking and cheese making is so much more fun. My aim is to have 100 dairy ewes and small 600-litre cheese bath, in Dutch, a tobe, I think it says, and make it mobile in an isolated trailer. This way we can travel with the sheep and make cheese en route. Keeping the dream alive. Thanks for all the good stuff you put out there." Thanks, Stein. I really appreciate it, mate. Oh, there we go. I'm back again. That was the last of the gallery, and thanks, Stein, for your lovely little story there. Really appreciate it. Okay, living the dream, indeed. Don't you worry about that. Okay, so that was the gallery. Let's get back to some of the questions. Thank you to everybody who sent in a picture. Now, if you want to send in your pictures as well, let me just show you how. I've got to bring up the YouTubes. Where are we? Right, so let me just share this. Unshare that, share another screen, share an application window. Well, there you go. All righty, so there is the my YouTube channel, and I'm not logged in, so I'm in incognito. But you will have to log on to use email. So go to the About tab just over here. Here we are. And it says, for business inquiries. It says, please sign in. If you're signed in, you'll actually see a little button to press, and you'll have to do one of those reCAPTCHA things to prove you're a human and not a robot. And then you will be able to send me an email with your photos. Please do it that way. The email address is the only one that I scan. I don't look at Facebook to find the pictures. I don't look at any other place. Please send it to that email address. And you'll get a spot on the gallery as well. I love the gallery. It's absolutely fantastic. So much fun. Okay. That's that. So let's carry on with some more questions. Let's have a look. I'm going to go back too far. Question from Let's have a look. Kevin says his Tellagio is getting a lot of blue mold after sanitizing the ripening box several times. What shall I do? Well, the Tellagio is a washed rind cheese, so you should be washing it, Kevin, anyway, and you probably are. Add a little bit more brevibacterial linens to your brine solution if you haven't done that again, and hopefully the red mold will take over and stop the blue from growing. Blue mold hates moist cheese. It likes a drier cheese. So the moister it is, the Tellagio, and I've seen videos of them making them commercially, and they are like dripping wet. So make sure that you've got the Tellagio, the outside of it, quite moist, and use another brevibacterial linens wash again, and you should be good to go. Hopefully that'll get rid of it. But I haven't made Tellagio personally. It is one that I'm going to put on the channel eventually, but we'll give it a go. Okay. Questions from Tuna says, are there specifics we should look for a cheese cave? Are there any benefits to have an actual cave underground cellar for cheese to cure? Tuna assumes that temperature would be a factor to look at. Most home cheese makers get away with using a fridge, and that's what I've got, just a normal kitchen, not a kitchen fridge. It's a dorm fridge or bar fridge, one that fits under a counter, small fridge. And what I've got is an external thermostat that I just bought off of eBay. Plug the fridge into it, and it's really dumb. All it does, you set the temperature, put the temperature probe into the fridge. I just hang it over the seal over the top. And what it does, it turns on and off to the set temperature you have. So that's how you control the temperature. You don't need an actual cave for home cheese makers. That'd be a pretty big deal. Pretty hard to do. So as for humidity control, I don't control the humidity in the cheese fridge. I simply use ripening boxes to control the humidity for individual cheeses. And you'll see a bit of that in some of the videos that I do. Okay. This question's from Hacken. I think it's Harkin. Maybe. Sorry. Harkin says, do you know what kind of cheese the hamburger chains use on their cheeseburgers? How could I make that cheese myself? Definitely. It's a form of American cheese that melts very well. It's actually got the addition of sodium citrate. And Kim, if you could put up the link to the American cheese, that'll help Harkin figure out how to make their own hamburger cheese. Okay. Molly, I think I might have already answered you. I made a Parmesan. It's in the brine. It's all at the top. Yeah, we did that one already. But thank you, Molly. Yeah, you're doing it right. Oh, yes. And you said thank you. Sorry. This question from Sidamed, I think. Please translate your videos into Arabic. I think there is an auto-translate feature on YouTube. I personally can't translate any videos. It costs money to do that, by the way, per language. I think it's to do a 20-minute video, it would cost me like $200 to get a full translation. So unfortunately, I'm not flush with cash, so I won't be doing that. Kevin says, made sherv from your recipe and found that draining 7 hours, the cheese is still very soft. How much longer can I drain it for? Look, I've drained that sort of cheese for over 24 hours and really didn't have too much problem. It got a little bit tartar, which is great because sherv is a tart or more acidic sort of soft cheese, especially with goat's milk anyway. So, yeah, that worked really well. So, yeah, look, up to 24 hours. If you're really worried about it getting too out of control, as in too much development from the lactic bacteria, Kevin, try and hang it in your fridge. So if you keep it at like 4 degrees, you'll get all of the draining, but none of the acid development. So try that. Okay. What is the easiest cheese for newbies? This is from, I can't even pronounce it. Sorry. Why Vooz? Sorry. My pronunciation of names is shocking, but don't take it personally. It's just me. Easiest cheese to do for newbies. Kim, can you put the link up for the beginner's cheese? You may have already done that, but pop up there again. People seem to love it. Let's have a look. Daniel says, my backyard chucks could be coming in a week or two. I think you mean chooks. That's in Australia, it's pronounced chooks, and they're chickens, hens. Yeah, not chucks. That'd be like a woodchuck. Yeah, chooks, and it's spelled CHOOK. Yeah, chook. Yeah, that's how you spell it. It's just Australian slang for chicken. Let me have a look. Yeah. Let's have a look. Now they're looking from another question. Here's one from Jason says, have you ever thought of molding a cheese using a heart or different shapes, maybe as an animal, I think like a cake or a cookie, assuming draining and such would work? Yeah, I did have some heart-shaped molds. Kim, if you can pop up the link for the, what did I call it? Neufchâtel. So the petite Neufchâtel, I used some little heart molds and they went bloomy and they tasted very nice. So yes, I wouldn't use silicon molds. There's no draining, so you're going to get a very yucky cheese. It has to be able to drain. There aren't many funky shapes, really. There's like pyramid shapes or rectangle shapes, heart shapes. There aren't too many funky. Cheesemakers don't get too funky. So, yeah. Manuel says, can I use heavy cream, which is UTH, for the alternative with homogenized milk? Heavy cream would be okay as long as it's not ultra pasteurized. I'm not sure what UTH stands for, but as long as the cream's not ultra pasteurized, you should be good to go. Yeah, Nicholas says the shape doesn't matter. Indeed, it doesn't. The cheese will still mature. Let's have a look. Another question. Question says, this one's from Molly, says, if you don't mind, what age were you when you started to make cheese? I'm only 18. Well, that's a great start, Molly. What age was I? Oh, goodness me. Well, I made my first cheese in 2009. So I was, how many years ago was that? That's a few. 11, 12 years now. So 12 years ago, I was, I can't remember, 40 something. So there you go. Roger says, I have a Lauder mold and have trouble getting the gouda out without breaking it. A disc of cheesecloth helps, as does air pressure with my toilet plunger. What? Your experience? Yeah, I just had to bang it on the edge of the sink and it came out no problems at all. That's what I did. So that was my experience. I've made a couple of times using the Lauder mold. I don't find it takes too much effort to get it out at all. It seems to be fine. Certainly don't need to use a cheesecloth in the Lauder mold because it's cheesecloth free, as they tell me at the factory. So don't use cheesecloth when you're using a Lauder mold because it will stick. Okay. Here's a question or a statement from Alistair. He says, to all new and aspiring cheesemakers, I started from Gavin's video and am off to the races, currently consuming a nice camembert with a full mini bar fridge cheese cave. Just started making cheese. Well done, Alistair. And the best place to start is to make your first cheese. A lot of people just hold off and never get to making their first cheese and wonder where to start. They procrastinate too much. So just try something. If you get a failure, no big deal. You'll see, you'll see in a few minutes when the Colby cheese premieres that, yeah, indeed, I nearly mucked that up. So, you know, goodness me, I've been making cheese for years and I still make mistakes. But I like to show the mistakes because so you guys don't, or you learn from my mistakes. But anyway, cool. Okay. Two guys in a cooler. I actually watch your channel. So cool. But you keep up the good work. There's right back at you. Hey Gavin, keep up the good work. Thank you very much. Yep, great channel. I love all the sausages and the meat and stuff. I have made some salamis before, but yeah, I don't get time to make them as much as I would. But yeah, great channel. Go and check that one out. Two guys in a cooler. Good for a laugh. And great cooking. Krogan says, Gav, love your bloomy goat cheese. Thank you very much. Yes, it was a great little recipe. Mr. Telegram says, wow, Gavin, you have to be so proud of all this cheese being made. Man, what an excellent teacher. I'm so happy you are doing this. Thanks very much. It's just, I love it. I love teaching others how to make cheese, and hopefully that works. Okay, so I'm up to where are we up to? Gotta find another one. There's a question from Star M. Says, do you supply starter culture and run it to India? No, unfortunately, we don't supply to India. We have tried in the past from Little Green Workshops, I think he's referring to, because customs keep confiscating it. I'm not allowed to import or export to India any animal products, and they just seem to, anything you put cheese making supplies or anything which you can't lie on the customs form, of course, they confiscate it and the customer never gets their product. And I'm out of pocket, you're out of pocket, so sorry, I don't ship there. Okay. Where is it? Jason says, can you show a picture of your cheese cave? I don't know if Kim is in the office. Oh, yeah, she's put a list to the... Oh, can you there's a link to the video about the cheese cave, Kim. If you can show that for Jason, that'll be cool. It's just a fridge. Where we go. This one's from Arub Hid. Sorry about that. Should camembert be hard in the middle, or should it be like butter? My camembert has hard pieces inside, and I'm not sure if it's safe. It depends on... Great question. It depends on how old the cheese is, how mature it is. It matures from the outside in. So it'll go runny on the outside first underneath the skin of the rind of the mold, and it works its way in. It creates this process called proteolysis, which breaks the proteins down into, like a mushy paste. The longer you age it, the more runnier the cheese is going to be, and it will eventually get to the center at about 4 to 5 weeks of aging. So it sounds like it's not aged long enough. It's perfectly edible. People do eat camemberts that have a little bit of paste in the middle and not gooey on the outside, or are gooey on the outside, sorry. So yeah. It's a funny question. This is from Krogan. It says, do you think that Mad Max happened because of a lack of cheese? I've seen that movie and there is no cheese anywhere. And look how unhappy everybody is in the movie. Indeed. You would think during the apocalypse that there would be some cheesemakers somewhere. I'm sure the tradition won't die. But yeah, they would be a lot happier. That's for sure. Yeah, Kim put up the link to the cheese basket, which is fantastic, over on Little Green Workshops. You can get small heart 50mm baskets over in our shop, so you can check that out. Let's have a look. This is from Jonas. Sorry, yeah, Jonas. I'm lucky to have access to raw milk with 4.2% fat, too fat for Parmesan, but I can't find good milk in the stores. The best is UHT or high temperature it doesn't still seem to curdle. Should I try to skim the raw milk? Indeed, that's the best way, and that's what they do. So yeah, let the cream float to the top, skim off as much as you can, and you'll have a lower fat milk, obviously, and perfect for Parmesan or even Romano. Okay, Ray says, I never noticed he was heterochromatic. Indeed, I am. I have 2 different colored eyes, if you want. We're going to have to call the show at the end. This is the end of the show. I don't think there are many more questions anyway, but sorry if I didn't get to them. Kim should be giving me the wind-up, which she will in a minute. So thank you, everybody, for watching. Thank you for all your questions. So stay tuned. Hang around on the channel because it should send you to the Colby premiere. I've kind of set it up that way that it'll do it, and that will be fantastic. So don't forget that you can support us on Patreon and YouTube. The links are in the description below if you want to financially support the channel. If you want to buy some products, then pop over to littlegreenworkshops.com.au. We ship to New Zealand, USA, Canada, obviously Australia because I'm Australian, and a couple of other countries, Singapore, Malaysia, Turkey, ones that don't have these silly sales tax laws. Anyway, so that's where we ship. I'm Gavin Weber, and thank you so much for watching. Look, without your questions, I wouldn't honestly have a show. There would be no show. Ask the Cheeseman would just be me talking about stuff. There'd be no cheeses, no questions and all that sort of stuff. But thank you so much week after week for coming back, watching the show from the bottom of Kim and my heart. And you can see she's in there somewhere. Thank you so much for supporting us. The show's never going to stop as far as I'm concerned. I love Ask the Cheeseman. It's great fun. Anyway, thanks for watching, everybody. And I will see you over at the Colby video on YouTube. Go to the channel, and I'll be in the chat there having a bit of a chitty chat about how I made the Colby. Anyway, thanks for watching, everybody, and I'll see you next time.